to do hits on this. We need a 24/7 declassification office.
Yes.
Rolling papers out 24/7. And not just like JFK and not just 9/11. You're talking to the guy that's read the whole 9/11 report and those 7 pages that people talk about. But I believe, as like the guy who's an intel guy who believes wholeheartedly in the classified system of information, I believe that it has been over-abused by these corrupt officials in government to hide the truth.
Hi, welcome to my channel. If today is your first time, please don't forget to subscribe and share this video. So incoming President-elect Trump has nominated Kash Patel as the FBI chief. Before we watch an interview Mr. Patel did on the Sean Ryan show, let me tell you a little bit about who Mr. Kash Patel is. Mr. Kash Patel, born February 25th, 1980, is an American attorney. He was born in Garden City, New York, to an Indian parent who had immigrated to the United States from East Africa. Mr. Patel previously served as a National Security Council official, senior advisor to the acting director of National Intelligence, and chief of staff to the acting United States Secretary of Defense during the first Trump presidency. So he served during the first time Mr. Trump was elected as a president. A member of the Republican Party, Mr. Patel worked as a senior aide to the Congressman Divine Nunes. He began his career as a federal public defender, a federal prosecutor, working on national security cases and legal liaison to the United States Armed Forces. So for those of you who have been following, if you have been following Mr. Trump's legal issues with the FBI, Mr. Patel was one of the major and the main critique of the FBI. So he was criticizing the works of the FBI, and he was he was down with the FBI. Like, he was so mad with the FBI, like, about what the FBI was doing. And if you don't know, Mr. Patel was also, based on his interview that he did on the Ryan show, he was also being under surveillance for a long time, and he was so mad about this. And currently his surveillance issue is currently in court. He took the FBI to court. So I think I love Mr. Patel. I like his energy. I like the way he portrays himself. I feel like he's the man who can do the job.
Threatened to investigate us, which was bad enough, right? They actually did it.
What? So Google informed you that you're being surveilled 5 years after the investigation started?
Chris Wray, the director of the FBI, and Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General then of the DOJ, were tasked with helping us at Congress, where I ran the Russiagate investigation, to expose Russiagate. We went to them and said, look, you guys didn't do this. Help us expose it. And they both doubled down. You know what they did? They launched an investigation against me, the senior congressional investigator for Russiagate on the House Intelligence Committee, and 6 other staffers. They used grand jury subpoenas to get my personal information, my banking information, my emails, my cell phone information, everything else. I didn't find out till 5 years later when Google called me and said, hey, our 5-year notification has lapsed. We can now tell you the DOJ surveilled you. And we had to turn over documents. So we exploded that into a federal lawsuit that's still ongoing in the DOJ and FBI. But those two guys.
Hold on. What? So Google informed you that you're being surveilled 5 years after the investigation started?
Right.
What more did they tell you?
They're not allowed to say anything, but that you can be informed now since it's 5 years later. So as a former national security prosecutor, I know you don't just go to Google. You go to every provider. You go to all the telecoms. You go to the bank. You go to everybody. If you're going to run an investigation, that's what you do. But these two guys who were running the FBI and DOJ sat in a room with the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and lied to our faces. They threatened to investigate us, which was bad enough, right? They actually did it. And then these two guys would get exposed, for Rod Rosenstein specifically, for signing a FISA that was totally bogus. And we've caught Chris Wray lying time and time again as the director of the FBI. Put these guys over here for a second. Gina Haspel, who was the director of the CIA, was London station chief in England when Russiagate kicked off. Under the rule of law in America, if you want the Federal Bureau of Investigation to launch an investigation overseas, you have to get permission from the head intel rep. In England, it's the the station chief. So she allowed Russiagate to occur on British soil, where there was a barroom operation to try to record some nub into spilling the beans on Donald Trump. And they would use that to launch the whole Russiagate offensive. Gina Haspel would later become Trump's CIA director. And then when these guys got out of the administration, do you know where Gina Haspel and Rod Rosenstein work today?
Where?
At Christopher Wray's old law firm as senior named partners, making 7 and 8 figures.
How is this going to get broken up? They seem so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, you just mentioned they're embedded in politics. They're embedded in mainstream media. They're embedded in intelligence agencies. They are former top leadership of the military that's now embedded within the military-industrial complex companies. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's how many people are involved in this?
Thousands.
In the deep state.
Thousands.
How would you even begin to dismantle it?
Well, I think the first Trump administration was the beachhead, right? People were just like, you guys are full of it. And we continued to put out the truth. And years later, people are catching up to a lot of that truth, saying, wait a second, you guys weren't lying back then. People being the American public. That's the weapon we need. And you guys weren't lying about impeachment. They literally made up a piece of a phone call to launch a presidential impeachment and then put me in the middle of it by making up a meeting that never occurred. But it sounded dirty at the time. And then when we finally released the transcript, everybody was like, oh yeah, there was no quid pro quo. Nothing illegal happened here. Has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for their next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to have a hit list. I don't have a revenge march I'm on.
You don't have a hit list?
I want the Constitution.
I'll give you one.
I'll take it. I simply want the Constitution to be applied to everybody, singularly, in government and outside of government. That's it. I want the judges to stop being political jackals on the bench and participate in the deep state prosecutions that have weaponized justice. And what I want in terms of full accountability is I want the American people to have enough ammunition of the truth that they are the ones that enact the accountability in Washington, D.C. That is how you see a sea change. I know the people that guys like me may take self-fulfillment in seeing that guy or that gal go to prison for breaking the law, but that is not going to fix Washington.